Well, howdy everybody. I'm Terry Jordan and welcome to another edition of Stockshow Confidential. This week we're in the great city of Grand Island, Nebraska. When we return, we're going to take you to the Charolais Jr. Nationals. You know, folks, at every one of these junior nationals, we always have an executive director that's behind the scenes, kind of making sure everything is going just right. Well, I'm standing alongside Neil Orth. And Neil, tell me how you got into the capacity here with the Charolais Association, exactly what your duties are.
Well, I am the Executive Vice President is my title for the American International Charolais Association. We have several divisions within our organization, within the association. One of them is our junior program, which is a very active group within the Charolais breed. Each year we help a hosting state or hosting region have a National Junior Show and Leadership Conference. It's not just about showing cattle, but we also have an educational program and a leadership type conference. And myself and my staff are responsible for the oversight of all of these events. And we actually have an individual who is identified as our junior director, so to speak.
Well, we've been here for the Junior National Charolais Show and Leadership Conference. It's a week long of activities from contests such as photos, posters, speech contest, resume contest, interview contest, and then social activities for these kids, along with educational seminars. And of course, we cap off the week with the Owned Heifer Show. I think one of the real important things for us to do in my position and helping the kids put on this Junior National is the interaction, the opportunity that they have to meet other kids with similar interests from around the country.
We had over 500 cattle entered and over 500 participants, and we haven't broken it down, but I would say somewhere in that 50% range of young adults that are here do not have cattle here. So they came just for the leadership conference and of course to watch the show as well.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the social activities that they become involved with. I think it makes these kids better communicators. I've seen a lot of kids, like with the skits, they're kids that sit off to the side and they'll have a dance and they're the wallflowers. And all of a sudden they become part of a skit and those kids open up, and I've seen some kids go from that to becoming officers in this organization.
And that's the strength of the junior program, and you know, not all of these young adults are going to go back home into animal production, but all the things that we do, as well as other breeds and other youth organizations, really give these young adults some sense of responsibility, sense of work ethic that they can't get anywhere else, and that's really what the junior programs are about in not only the beef cattle, but all species of livestock.
It's a time for the families to get together, to interact, and teaching these kids how to take a proper picture, how to put something on paper that promotes either the organization or promote a product. So they're learning how to promote, how to make money.
Well, and you know, that's the nice thing about the livestock industry when we compare it to some of the other functions or events that kids can be involved in. As we go to one of these functions, there's a parent or a grandparent behind them, and it's just a huge economic impact on these cities that we come into.
Oh, absolutely. That is absolutely true. You know, the hotels and like our hosting state, they've gone to different venues here in the city, and they almost feed us 3 times a day, and we'll have a big banquet tonight, and all those steaks had to come from somewhere. So the folks in the local community benefit as well.
Hey, we appreciate you joining us on Stockshow Confidential. Neil, thank you so much, and we appreciate the job that you do with these young people.
Thank you, Terry. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, friends, be sure and check out StockshowConfidential.com, our Breeders' Corner. We have the top lamb, goat, pig, and cattle breeders listed there. Check it out.
Hi, my name is Madison Belcher. I'm 12 years old, and I just won Denver National Western Stock Show with the goat I bought from Schaefer Farms. For your next grand champion animal, do what I did. Go to StockshowConfidential.com, Breeders' Corner.
Advertise on StockshowConfidential.com, Breeders' Corner. It's where the winners shop, and it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Sign up for a listing on a Breeders' Corner, upload your logo, and be ready for your first customer like Madison. Visit the webpage, StockshowConfidential.com, or call me, Terry, 432-416-0379.
Folks, right now, let's continue our conversation with Neil, and then we're going to hear from Jack Ward, one of the very special cattle judges. He's going to tell us more about this great breed of cattle. Let's talk about Grand Island. How did y'all choose Grand Island for your Junior National?
The hosting state, of course, was Nebraska. And they actually made the choice of Grand Island, but if you were here and saw the facilities, it's a no-brainer to come to Grand Island, Nebraska, because it's a great facility. I know that their state fair is held here now. I'll have to give credit to our hosting state, the state of Nebraska, for bringing us to this location.
Well, you know, when we talk about good cattle, obviously Charolais ranks right up there among some of the top cattle in the industry. Let's talk about how that breed got started.
The breed actually was the home country for Charolais cattle, of course, is France. Back in the late 50s, early 60s, there was a push in this country to get away from the little short coupled cattle, put more size and frame and more scale into cattle, and produce a leaner product that was certainly becoming more in demand. So Charolais cattle came in back in those days, as several other continental breeds did at that point in time, and then they just, in fact, we were probably the first continental breed to hit the country here in the U.S. And since that time, we've just steadily grown in our product, and our breed is very diversified, and we have a real strong presence in the commercial industry. Our bull sales are our bread and butter of our breed.
Now that you've learned more about the Charolais breed, let's hear from our resident expert, Mr. Jack Ward.
I want you to think about this for just a minute. We see some, and David told me first thing this morning that we were going to be a little lenient on the 3-strike Charolais to get out of the ring because of the cool air and the sand and everything that brings us about. We have had kids in here that have gotten knocked down, drug around, beat up, let go, they've got back up, they've dusted themselves off, and they've got back after their job. Now, if that isn't building what we're after here, I don't know what is. These kids, take a look at these kids. They're dressed in clean jeans, they got boots, they got a belt on, they got their hair combed, and they look like good young adults. Isn't that worth a lot? Do that? Give a nice round of applause, because you don't see that very often. We need to continue, and I challenge the Charolais Association and to the parents and the breeders, continue to give these kids this opportunity. This arena is so important to developing them into good young adults, and to you young folks, take that challenge. There's one that suited me very, very much from the time I seen him this morning. Young lady, go have a great champion.
All right, my name's Jack Ward. I'm from Plattsburgh, Missouri, and my family and I run and own a few cows around Plattsburgh, Missouri, and I'm also the Chief Operations Officer of the American Hereford Association. And what we've done here this afternoon, we just completed the own division of the National Junior Charolais Show. And what we have here is the heifer that I selected as the grand champion. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about her. This heifer, in my opinion, is one that is just so complete and so correct. The young lady, in my opinion, has got her in perfect condition for this time in her maturity. And she's a heifer. As a Charolais heifer, we expect them to have a little more thickness and muscle, and she exemplifies that very nicely. But just as importantly, she looks like a female. She's got a lot of character up in her head and her front end and through her shoulder. She's got a nice broody look. Even at a young age, we can project her as a brood cow as certainly having some of the things that are going to make her very strong. So the young lady's done a nice job. Her feet and legs, as I talked about her in class, come very squarely out at the edge of her body. She moves and tracks very nicely. Her bone work matches her body, and everything is just in balance. So I congratulate her. This is the national champion here at the own division at the Charolais Jr. National, and my compliments to you. Thank you.
Stockshow Confidential is brought to you by the following sponsors: Sullivan Show Supply and Stockshow University, SureChamp, Showmaster Feeds, Justin Discount Boots and Cowboy Outfitters, EB Trailer, Luberson Livestock, and StockshowConfidential.com. For maximum performance in the show ring, Luberson Livestock. For lifelong joint health, Luberson Livestock. For stock show animals and your beloved pet, Luberson Livestock. Luberson Livestock's oral supplement, developed by Dr. Stephen Alday, is safe and 100% all natural. Luberson Livestock's patented hyaluronic acid formula ensures the integrity of synovial fluid, the key component for protection and lubrication of all joints. Keep your livestock floating with Luberson Livestock.
Well, friends, as we round it out here from the Charolais Jr. Nationals, along beside me is Evelyn Nord, and Evelyn is the queen this year for the Junior Charolais Association. Now, Evelyn, I also happen to know that you're a very accomplished student, a 4.0 student for like that last 8 years. That's incredible. How'd you do that?
Well, I put a lot of study time. Actually, my extracurriculars in school were actually studying for a few hours every day and then working on calves.
Well, that makes it for a pretty busy schedule between being an accomplished pianist, a guitar player, showing calves, and then doing your duties as the queen. How do you manage all that in one day?
It takes a lot of organization. I do a lot of notes. I have a notepad by my bed, and I write out everything I'm going to do for the day. Get up, do chores, do homework, go to school, go to work, practice. I just try and stay as organized as possible. Yeah,
that's incredible that you can fit that many things in. Now, I also know that you've been showing cattle since you were 8 years old. Started out in 4-H, I assume.
Yep. I actually started showing a few Simmental calves, and about my 3rd year showing, I switched over to Charolais, and since then it's been Charolais ever since.
Well, I also happen to know that you're an auctioneer. Do a little bit of that for me.
Oh, we always say, come to an auction and hear it. I can roll off a few tongue twisters.
All right, do it.
I'll do it. One of my favorites is Betty bought her, and it goes, Betty bought her, bought some butter, but she said this butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. So she bought a bit of better butter, put it in her bitter batter, made her bitter batter better. So better Betty bought her, bought a bit of better butter.
That is incredible. You know, and I know that you had to go to auction school in order to learn that, but it also comes from your family. Your father's an auctioneer, your mother's an auctioneer, and you also have a younger sister that's an auctioneer also. So now, do y'all ever go to one of these functions where that the whole family gets involved and y'all kind of split up time where that you'll do a little bit of the auction?
We have our family auction business back home. Actually, our last auction specifically, we were short an auctioneer. I was sitting at the table getting ready to clerk, and the crowd starts saying, just start, just start. And so I grabbed my sister from the office and she clerked it, and I did a little bit of selling. It was nerve-wracking because I get a little bit anxious. And
well, you know, and it kind of just tells the story about yourself of all the things that you have done. Now, what do you see as your plans for the future? Where are you going to go to school at, or what do you intend to do?
Well, I just finished community college back home, and next I'm going to the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. I'm studying biology. Hopefully I can get into their honors program over there. Biology just offers me so many opportunities. I've been looking toward practicing medicine specifically. Really, I'm gonna get that biology degree and see where everything goes from there. I've also taken a really big interest in genetics. So.
Well, you know, and that's obviously it's an important part of what we do in the stock show circuit as far as genetics, raising these cattle.
Yes, and everything goes back to the cattle. Even if I don't have a job and I'm not income as a farmer, it's all going to go back to the farm. I always want to have a Charolais herd, at least influence, but it's always back to the farm.
Well, friends, when we talk about young people, obviously one more time, shining example of what goes on in the livestock industry. Evelyn, good luck down the career. Thanks for joining us on Stock Show Confidential, and obviously congratulations on being this year's queen for the Junior Charolais Association.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You know, raising and competing show animals takes more than good nutrition. It takes determination, dedication, and hard work, traits that are hallmarks to leaders. And that's why Showmaster is proud to feed the potential of the youth leaders through their educational programs, award programs, and support of the 4-H and FFA. Showmaster Feed continues to build the legacy of building champions through their innovative feed programs and nutritional research. Showmaster Feeds. Feed their potential. At any livestock show, showmanship is one of the most important things. Let's hear from Jake and Cammie Scott of what it takes to be perfect in the show ring.
I'm Jake Scott. This is my wife, Cammie. We both live in Gordon, Nebraska. I originally grew up in Oklahoma, attended Oklahoma State University, and we're here at the Charolais Jr Nationals today in Grand Island.
I grew up in Gordon, Nebraska on a family operation. I also went to school at Oklahoma State University where we met. I worked for Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association for 7 years until we decided to move back to the family farm.
Cammie and I were asked and invited down here to judge the showmanship, which was a real treat. We really enjoyed it. They had 3 divisions of showmanship. Had a senior division, which was quite large and really competitive, had an intermediate and junior division, and all 3 divisions were spectacular. Had some really quality kids that we had a chance to work with today.
When we're out judging, we look for kids that can bring their animals in and they get them set up, get their feet placed right, they're confident, they're relaxed, they're aware of their place in the ring and aware of where the judges are. But for the most part, they're just having a good time and having fun and presenting their animals.
Well, in terms of appearance and showmanship, Cammie and I are both in agreement that we think they should have a professional attire relative to our industry. And I think what's acceptable is a collared shirt in the summertime. Certainly short sleeve collared shirt is acceptable. Wintertime, you know, we all wear long sleeves. A nice clean pair of jeans on. One thing that I guess we both really think is important is for the kids to have on boots. I heard it best said that we wouldn't dare wear a set of cowboy boots on Michael Jordan's basketball court, and you probably shouldn't wear sneakers into a show ring, and I agree with that. A lot of us in the business wear those heavy leather shoes when we're working or in the barns, and we probably think that's acceptable, but our preference is a good pair of cowboy boots when they're showing.
I guess probably the first thing that catches my eye when a kid comes in the ring is that confidence. They're comfortable with their animal. You can tell they've worked with them, they've spent some time with them, and they're proud of them. And you can see that on their faces.
At this level, kids that are at this age have begun to develop their own style. They have a personality when they show, and it's something that they communicate to us as judges non-verbally. And like I say, it's very hard to describe, but it's kind of like good cattle. You know it when you see it. And what we see in these kids is kids that are really wanting to be out here. They have a focus and an intensity and a confidence that you can just see it on their face.
Their job is to show the animal off, not necessarily themselves, not what's going on in the sidelines, but their job is to show that animal off to the best of its ability, and that's their sole purpose in the ring.
Had it been an actual contest where we were judging the cattle, you know, the judge wants to see areas of the cattle, and if your body's covering that up, it's a courtesy to move. Now, when it comes to showmanship, I think Cammie would agree that there's some techniques and some finesse involved with how much or how little the kids move that can either add to their showmanship skills or sometimes detract from it too. And I think what we both prefer is kind of a subtle movement, probably more of a shifting of a kid's weight from one side to the other as a judge walks by, more than taking big dramatic steps. You know, this is kind of a vacation for us to get to come do this and to be with you all here today. So it's equally fun to see kids that are out here having fun and enjoying what they're doing. I don't mean having a big smile on their face, I mean out here competing, wanting to be here, wanting to whip somebody, and wanting to win. And we sure like to see that. You know, there's three fundamental areas that the cattle are presented. First, when they come into the ring, we typically show the cattle on a rear view, where the judge would come down and evaluate muscle from behind and then have a chance to walk in front of the cattle. And then the second is the profile, or head to tail, when a judge evaluates the silhouette of the animal, sees the body from the side. And in between, the transition is when the cattle are walking. And that's one of the most important areas, and something that often I think is missed when kids are walking is the spacing element. And I think it's so important for the exhibitors to keep an appropriate amount of space from them to the animal in front of them. And I think one way to gauge that is probably an animal's length at most and a half animal length at minimum is what I would consider appropriate. But keeping the spacing between you and the animal in front of you certainly helps with the flow and the movement. It's a courtesy to the exhibitor in front of you that you don't mess up their fit job, and it keeps your animal more calm if he's not right on the hindquarter of another one. What we're going to do now, without further ado, is first of all, we'd like to give the kids a big round of applause for their participation. We appreciate you giving us the time to sort through them, because it's very difficult for us. And we're going to, I think they've asked us to place the top 5. Cammie's going to begin with 5th place and work her way to the 1st place. And I think it'd be great after every selection if we could give the kids a very deserving round of applause. Thanks again. Congratulations, kids.
Let's give all our junior showmen a round of applause.
Thanks once again for joining us on another edition of Stock Show Confidential. You know, we're having a blast out on the road filming these young people and all their great accomplishments. And until next time, I'm Terry Jordan saying here's hoping that we'll see you in the winner's circle.